podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Now entering the PNRNetworks arena, coming down the aisle from Revere, Massachusetts, weighing in at absolutely none of your business. It's the Mistress of Mayhem, the Queen of Quips. It's time for Ring Around the Rosie with your hostess, Kim Brown.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Ring Around the Rosie. I am your hostess, Kim Brown, aka Platinum Rose Lady, coming to you on Thursday, the 23rd of May, 2019. I'm sorry that I've been away for the last couple of weeks. We have been crazy busy here, recording some really special shows for our other podcast, Subject Cinema, which we've been doing for over 10 years. It's our movie podcast. Last month, we were looking at the Marvel movie universe leading up to Avengers Endgame, and this month we are doing a Godzilla film every day during the Big G Tokyo Town Stompdown for the release of the legendary film Godzilla King of the Monsters at the end of this month, which, yes, I am really freaking excited about. So today I'm going to be taking a quick look at the most recent WWE pay-per-view, WWE's Money in the Bank, which was on May 19th, coming from Hartford, Connecticut at the XL Center. This is going to be a real down and dirty review of the show, because to be perfectly honest, the end of this show just we had the all the matches leading up to this show and all the storylines and everything leading up to the show, involving, the fact that this is a Money in the Bank, ladder match for men and women, and, that they get the briefcase, and that means that they're going to get to, be on the, challenge for whomever they want, whenever they want. So we begin with the pre-show, which was the SmackDown Tag Team Champions Daniel Bryan and Erick Rowan taking on the former champions Jimmy and Jey Uso, with the Usos coming out as the winners of that match and new SmackDown champions. Following that was the Money in the Bank ladder match for the women's championship, whichever women's championship, with the people involved in that match being Bayley, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Ember Moon, Mandy Rose, who was out there with Sonya Deville, Naomi, Natalya, and Nikki Cross. Nikki, who was competing instead of Alexa Bliss, because somehow they're best friends now. Nikki, you can do so much better than that. Bayley wound up being the person that won that match and the Money in the Bank contract. Following that was the singles match for the WWE United States Championship, with champion Samoa Joe going against Rey Mysterio. This was not without its controversies, because while Rey did win the match, as it turned out, his one of Joe's shoulders wasn't completely down on the mat, and also Joe was busted open the hard way during this match. It looked like he broke his nose. Apparently he hasn't, because nobody's brought it up. This feud is gonna get really ugly really quickly, because Samoa Joe, who can't apparently learn from previous mistakes, is bringing in and getting in the face of Rey's son Dominic, as Samoa Joe did when his feud with AJ Styles previously, bringing up AJ's wife and child often enough, which AJ responded to by beating the holy living hell out of Samoa Joe every chance he got. Following that was the downturn, in my opinion, of this show, when we had the cage match between Shane McMahon and The Miz, and Shane winning the match because Miz couldn't keep control of his temper and basically cost himself the match by trying to beat Shane up enough that Shane wound up falling out of the cage. I was like, this is going to keep going on like this. Really? You know, it's just, I don't know. Following that was the match for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship with Tony Nese, the champion, going against Araya Daivari, who we haven't seen in a very long time. Tony Nese retaining his belt. And following that was the first of two matches for Becky Two Belts in the evening, with Lacey Evans being her challenger for one of the belts. Lacey Evans' whole thing being, talking about how a lady has, certain charms and knows how to procure favors and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, didn't we used to call those whores? Oh, no, wait, we still do call them whores. And she comes out with the guns shooting money and stuff like that. Whore. And this is her character. I'm not talking about her as the person. Calm down. There's just something, I know that means she's doing her job, because every time I see Lacey Evans, my palms just itch because I want to slap the living shit out of her. I'm just glad Becky was able to do it. That's one wonderful thing about the Irish. If we say we're going to kick your ass, we're going to kick your ass. And Becky kicked her ass all over that ring. The problem was that right after that, out comes Charlotte Flair saying that she wants her match now. So Becky beat Lacey by submission, keeping her Raw Women's belt. And Charlotte came out, demanded her match start right away for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And Charlotte, who couldn't finish the match without help from Lacey Evans, wound up beating Becky for the belt, which caused Bayley to come down and immediately cash in her Money in the Bank briefcase, and Bayley wound up beating Charlotte Flair for the belt. So now Bayley is the Women's SmackDown champion, and I sat there and cackled like a supervillain. If for nothing else, just hearing how disappointed Corey Graves sounded, that just made my fucking night. The next match was Roman Reigns going against Elias. Before the match, Elias showed what a gutless, ballless, dickless coward he was. Unbiased? Who, me? By bashing Roman Reigns in the back of the head with a guitar and then coming out and singing about it, because that's what you do when you're a fucking idiot. He had then attempted to leave. Roman came out, Superman punched him into the next area code. Again, see, I laughed like a supervillain. And Roman wound up defeating him. Roman is apparently going to be going against Shane McMahon at the show the show coming up in Saudi Arabia, and that's still not going to make me order this show. I still think it's offensive, and I'm still not ordering it. Tough shit. The next match was for the WWE Universal Championship with champion Seth Rollins going against AJ Styles. And if you really didn't think this match was going to be amazing, it was completely just balls to the wall, kick-ass match, really fantastic between like two people that are pretty much at their peak physically. Seth Rollins retained his belt against AJ. The next match was Kofi Kingston going against Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship, and thankfully Kofi retaining his belt, dealing with Kevin Owens. And now we get to the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men, which was, the winner of that gets a contract to go against whichever wrestler they choose, champion they choose. So the people involved in the match at the beginning of the match, when everybody fucking else comes out when they're fucking supposed to, were Ali, Andrade, because apparently we don't do first or last names anymore. It's just one name, like Cher, I guess. Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, Randy Orton, and Ricochet. And so you have these guys beating each other half to death in the ring, and just doing some amazing, sick, stupid, crazy spots. And then almost directly at the end of the match, out comes Brock fucking Lesnar to basically beat up on people and then grab the Money in the Bank briefcase, because everybody else has already, as I mentioned, beat themselves half to death. If this didn't put the biggest fucking sour taste in my mouth at the end you want to talk about people I mean, I don't know about where you guys live, and I don't know about the people you hang out with and stuff like that, but I, unfortunately, have had to be surrounded by a bunch of people who all they've done is bitch and whine and kvetch and moan and complain about the end of Game of Thrones, which ironically was the same night. And, you know, I thought nobody complained more than wrestling fans. Oh boy, was I wrong. I mean, I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I will be perfectly honest and say I tried to watch Game of Thrones. I got through the entire first episode and I'm like, wait, oh my gosh, they're brother and sister, yuck! Okay, yeah, not watching this anymore, ugh, gross. So I can't say that I'm not emotionally invested in Game of Thrones, and also any show where I have to watch Sean Bean get killed again, fuck you, I went through that 6 times watching Fellowship of the Ring, fuck you, I'm not doing that again. My heart can't fucking take it, folks. But I've just been around people that all they have done is bitch and bitch and bitch about Game of Thrones and how it ended and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, you want to talk about disappointing endings? Ha 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 ha. You people don't know jack motherfucking shit about disappointing endings, because at least fucking Brock Lesnar didn't show up at the end of the big climactic battle at the end of Game of Thrones and walk off with the prize. You know, whatever the prize is. You know, at least Game of Thrones didn't end with Brock Lesnar sitting on the Iron Throne, because that just, I would have thrown myself off of a building. That's a joke, that metaphorically speaking. But I'm sorry. Fuck you. WWE, fuck you. We don't want this guy around anymore. I don't see how we can make this any more fucking clear. We don't want Brock Lesnar. He has no love for the business. He has no respect for the business. He has no respect for the fans of the business. Fuck you. We don't want him. We don't want him back. UFC didn't want him. Why do we get this Cro-Magnon inflicted on us? Fuck you. Fuck it. I mean, seriously. This took this pay-per-view straight down from a pretty solid A- straight down to a B-. I'm giving this pay-per-view a B- because the end of it just fucking pissed me off to no fucking end. So, the WWE is now hyping the big, super showdown, match pay-per-view that they're going to be having, which they are not. You notice they're hyping the hell out of it, but they're very, 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 tack 12 more verys on there, very selective when they say where it is. They'll only say, oh, the super showdown show in Jeddah. It's like Jeddah is an afterthought, and they won't even say Saudi Arabia. It's like, okay, so you're so proud that you're going there, but you're so scared of the condemnation from everybody else that you won't actually say the name of the place. That's so much hypocrisy. That is more hypocrisy than is going on in Washington, D.C. right now. And holy shit, I didn't think that was possible. Huh. So, also I would like to extend my wishes to Ric Flair, who has been in the hospital and had an operation on his heart. It was announced that he had been rushed to the hospital, and other people are saying, no, it's not as serious as, the internet is making it out to be. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It went back and forth. But the bottom line is that Rick is now out of the hospital and hopefully recovering and resting and hopefully not, kiss stealing and wheeling dealing and limousine driving and, airport flying and all that stuff like that. Right now, hopefully right now he's just taking a break. Just taking a break. Rick, I think you friggin' earned it. After all this time, you have earned it, bro. Seriously. I don't like ending the show on a sad note, but, there's really, it is what it is. And, today is a very, very sad day when it comes to being a professional wrestling fan and just being a human being. 20 years ago on this date, Owen Hart died. as the result of a terrible accident, which occurred at the Over the Edge pay-per-view that year. Owen was performing his, the comedy gimmick that he was performing of the blue blazer, and he was supposed to be lowered into the ring, and it was going to be, really funny, and blah, blah, blah. And something went wrong, and Owen fell 70 feet and hit the ring and was pronounced dead at the hospital. And it's really, I can't even imagine what a day like this must be like for Owen's widow or her children, or his family, or, the people that knew him best, his coworkers and his friends. I'm sure it's a very difficult day for them, and it's still a very difficult day for a lot of us, because Owen was a great performer, and he was, from what I heard, a really cool guy. He wasn't one of these guys, and this is back, 20 years ago when wrestling was very different, and what people did in their off time was very different, and Owen wasn't one of these people that went out to the strip clubs or drank himself under the table or did a bunch of drugs and all this stuff like that. I'm sure he, did some crazy things, and his ribs are pretty legendary in the wrestling business, to the point where even fans know about ribs that he pulled, because people still talk about them. And it's really weird, because I hated Owen, but that was his job. I was supposed to hate him. And my husband, my guy, loved Owen. Thought he was amazing, thought he was a terrific athlete, and also really enjoyed the fact that Owen lived to be a bane in Bret Hart's side, because I was a big fan of Bret Hart and he was not. So, I know I've told this story before, but it's the one story that I always think of when I think of Owen. And at the risk of boring you guys, I just like to tell it now real quick. We had gone to a show in the southern part of the state, drove down to a show at the Cape Cod Melody Tent. And it was a smaller show, house show. It was a summer night, and Owen was he was in his King of Hearts phase. He was a heel. But the thing was, he was going against Hunter Hearst Helmsley. This is back when Hunter was the Greenwich snob and that whole gimmick back then. And so the fans had the choice of cheering for, you have to cheer for somebody. You can't sit there and boo both people. You feel kind of weird. You have to cheer for somebody. And so the fans decided between the two of them, they hated Triple H more. So he got all the boos and Owen got all the cheers. And I will never forget the look on Owen's face, because he's kind of looking around at the crowd and all the kids are cheering and the adults are cheering. And Owen was like, oh, okay, I'm the good guy tonight. Yay! He just kind of put his arms up, and he was all doing all, things that a face wrestler would do. He wasn't being a heel anymore. He wasn't shouting at people. He wasn't, being a jerk. He was the good guy that night. And, that's the Owen that I see in my mind. 'Cause I gotta be honest, that night 20 years ago is a big fucking blur. I remember sitting there watching, I remember us watching the pay-per-view. I remember them saying that, Owen there'd been an accident, something had happened, and at the end of the pay-per-view, Jim Ross saying that Owen had died. And it was like a bomb went off in my chest. I couldn't wrap my mind around the idea that Owen was really gone. We went to bed, and we got up the next day, and we tried to just function and deal with stuff, and it was just this feeling like this is some kind of a dream. This is some kind of horrible, horrible nightmare, and we're all gonna wake up, and Owen's gonna pop out from behind the door and go, "Ha-ha, gotcha," But that never happened, and Owen was really gone, and it hurt. It hurt so much, and it still hurts. it's fucking crazy. It's 20 fucking years later, and it still fucking hurts. Because it's, at the risk of sounding, this sounds like a stupid way to put it, it's not fair. There's a song, ask your parents, but there's a song that Billy Joel did a long time ago, and it's only the title that has to do with anything about what I'm talking about. There's a song called Only the Good Die Young. And Owen was one of the good guys. Not always in the ring was he a good guy, but he was definitely one of the good guys outside the ring. And there's a song that Garth Brooks does that's called The Dance. And part of the song is this whole part that says, our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. And that's kind of sums up how I feel about Owens sometimes. Like, the hurt that you kind of wish would go away. I mean, it lessens. It obviously lessens. But when I think about Owen, I think about that one night at that show and that summer night in Massachusetts, and I think about that smile that was on his face when he realized everybody was cheering for him, and that smile that's what I see in my mind is Owen smiling, and that's the way I remember him. And we still think about you a lot, Owen, and we still miss you a lot. You were a special person, and you were taken from us way too soon. Sorry, I really didn't mean to get as maudlin as I did there. Sorry about that. Another show that I'd like to talk about real quick, just changing gears for a second. Vice TV had this show on for a little while called Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know if you guys got to check this show out. I hope you did, because it was really cool. I'm gonna get into more detail on it in a couple, the next couple of weeks and stuff like that. It was a really interesting show. They have a new show starting this week called The Wrestlers that sounds like it's going to be really, really different and really entertaining. So I can't wait to see that. Shorter show this week, but I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or comments or queries or complaints or Roman Reigns' phone number, that is a joke. Kidding. Just kidding. Stalking is bad. We don't encourage stalking on this show. You can write to me at platinumroselle@yahoo.com. You can also, if you are so inclined, you can also go to my Twitter, platinumroselle@twitter.com, and you can follow me there if you want. And you can check out the other shows that are part of our little island of misfit toys, which would include Subject Cinema, Platinum Rose's Garden, 3 Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, Front Row 5 and 10, and also the other shows that are part of our family, including Cavebabble and Anthony Lamberti over on YouTube with Aunt B's Nerd Grotto. He is a great guy. And Eric and Valerie are awesome people. They had to deal with some really scary weather this week, they and their families. And so we wish you a lot of love, and we're glad you're all okay. And that is going to wrap things up here for another week on Ring Around the Rosie. I hope you enjoyed the show. This is Kim Brown signing off for another week. See you later. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Ring Around the Rosie with Kim Brown, a production of PNRNetworks. Keep in touch with all things about the show at http://ringaroundtherosie.net. Ring Around the Rosie intro performed by Eric Lyon. Ring Around the Rosie theme by Digital Juice. Join Kim for a new Ring Around the Rosie every Wednesday. Ring Around the Rosie is copyright 2018 PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, USA.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.